Hello and welcome back to the What They Said podcast. For those of you that haven't listened to this podcast before, this is the What They Said Influencer Marketing podcast, where we chat about everything to do with the creator economy in the UK, around the world. It's a big topic, so we thought we could get quite a few episodes out of it. We've got some brilliant guests that can talk far more eloquently than I can about influencer marketing. So if you are enjoying the podcast and you've stuck with us to season 2, please make sure you subscribe on your favourite platforms, leave a review, and if you do feel like heckling, keep it to yourself. So I'm thrilled to be joined today by Layla from The Very Group. How are you, Layla?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Tell us your role.
Okay.
Tell us your star sign. Give me all the detail.
So I am the head of consumer influence at Very. I look after the influencer marketing team, the organic social team, the PR team, and also we look after celebrity partnerships as well at Very. So all very kind of brand and consumer focused.
Busy,
Very busy.
And how long have you been in that role for?
5 years, I think. Yeah, started just before COVID.
So you've got, COVID was a big change, I think, for the influencer space. So I feel like we've got a lot to chat about. Because I imagine, even in the last year alone, things have changed so much. Briefly before the podcast, we were talking about the shift around UGC creators and micro creators. So I guess for you, in 5 years, you've gone from pre-COVID to a post-COVID world where influencer is probably one of the most active channels that you look after.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, like even thinking about COVID, it just shifted everything within like the space of a week. We shot everything through influencers rather than in studio. It just completely shifted everything for us. So yeah, I started in the October just before, so just got my feet under the table, started to figure out who was who, and then everything changed. But yeah, we're in like a whole new world of Very now as well, because we've got a new brand platform, a new kind of reason to be. So it's quite an exciting time.
I want to talk about that brand platform in a minute, because I think there's a lot to unpack. But also, I feel like those changes to influence that you said that were really kind of like spearheaded by COVID, has it lasted? Do you see that impact now, where a lot of focus has shifted to influencers?
I think it caused some temporary changes. So there were things that we did that were really impactful and amazing at the time, but probably didn't stand the test of time, like shooting gallery with influencers, because obviously we couldn't be in the studio with models and photographers, which was amazing to kind of see the power of content creators in their own home, but obviously just doesn't kind of last as a way of kind of producing a lot of on-site content.
Especially that quality change as well, because you've gone from that more premium polished look to just relinquishing control to people filming in their bathrooms, hoping they've got good light.
Yeah, exactly. It was a world of like no rules. Like we could try anything and see what stuck, which was really nice. But I think what we kind of carried through from it was things that we were already doing. So we had already had an influencer network, so kind of a group of influencers that we have long-term partnerships with. We'd already seen that was a beneficial way of working, but it was a really nice thing to do through COVID, because you knew you were supporting creators at a point where it could have been quite scary and dicey for them. And we knew that we had creators that we could rely on who could create social content when our team at the time weren't set up to do that themselves at home. So we could really kind of try a few different things. And we kind of carried on certain elements of that. So using them to fuel paid social content, we found that to be so impactful. And yeah, just basically mixing it up and making sure that we're kind of super nimble, and realizing that influencer is one of the most nimble forms of marketing you can kind of utilize. You can change something so late in the day, and you can completely rely on creatives that don't sit within your business, who work on just your business, to bring new creative thoughts and ideas, which is always super exciting.
I think the sentiment there, the first part you said around, obviously during a time where it's complicated for everyone, obviously COVID, but it's nice to hear that your mindset there was supporting creators. Because I think a lot of people forget that, and it's definitely something that's come through while we've been doing this podcast, is that this whole industry is built on people that maybe have just stumbled into being like a content creator or an influencer, and they're perhaps not business savvy. So you are definitely supporting a lot of small businesses through the work.
Yeah, I mean, I try and make it my mission to remember that we are working with people and individuals.
Humans.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes you can kind of get lost in, I've got 100 briefs to go out, we've got this campaign to do, we need to support that product, and forget that the reason why you're working with the creators that you're working with, and that they are individuals and you need to build relationships with them. The more they trust you, the more they'll do for you, and the better and more authentic the message that comes across is. So, yeah, I mean, it's just be a decent human being, basically.
Yeah. Do you know what I think is really interesting? We did a panel last week with TikTok, and there were some influencers on there. And it's really interesting seeing and seeing the reaction from brands in the room when they hear that these influencers are also doing their due diligence on the brands.
Yeah.
And I think that collaborative mindset that you've said there, you know, you've got maybe working at volume with talent, but not forgetting that there's a human at the end of it, and almost kind of treating them as like mini creative consultants, because
Absolutely.
you said they're outside of your business. They can, you know, off the coalface, tell you exactly what they think about the brief they've received. And you and I were chatting about prescriptive briefs, which I want to get into in a moment. But I think Very's doing a really good job of understanding that these are creative people. They want to feel included in the partnership. It's not just a one and done. They want to feel long-term value as well.
Absolutely. I think like it's one of the things that I think in my agency career before I was at Very, I found so frustrating with certain clients that I'd work with, because we were so prescriptive. I would end up, you know, penciling kind of the idea for the content and thinking, I don't have a YouTube platform. I have no concept of what this specific YouTuber is, why that piece of content works as well. They will understand it on a much deeper level than I will. So why am I the person, like literally scene by scene, laying out what they should be doing?
Storyboarding the content.
Exactly. Like I shouldn't be storyboarding it. They should be coming up with those creative concepts. Like that's the beauty of influencer marketing. We have all of these like different creative minds, and they have nuanced audiences. And unless we're shooting an ad and we're being really prescriptive about every element of our ad and it's going out on TV, it's a whole different ballgame. We have to be so much more collaborative in what we do and really, really respectful of the creativity that these individuals are bringing. Like it's such an exciting form of marketing. Like I've worked in it since it was bloggers and sending out phones for them to review, and I've watched it develop over time, and I just find it such a like fun part of my job. And that's why I'd say, even though I manage kind of a broader team, I still try and stay really close to the influencer side, because that's the kind of the root of my love for my job, really.
Yeah, I think, I mean, influencers move so quickly, but still at the core of it. And I think you've definitely, I mean, I've been doing this around 10 years and you've done it for a long time.
Yeah.
We've seen different iterations of people trying to like platformatize, you know, working with creators, or, you know, being prescriptive of content where you end up with assets that all look the same. It's just a different face. And like, you're not partnering with an influencer to have the same content for paid from everyone.
Yeah.
And I think I've definitely worked with brands where that's been the sentiment. And even, you know, try as you might, you can't get through, because you know, it's coming from powers that be. We need everyone to do this. But you're also not partnering with influencers just for the numbers. You're partnering for their connection to their audience.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so watered down in so many executions you and I have definitely seen, where it's like, this was a miss. You know? You've kind of forgotten the crux of what made this work.
It's when you see the content back and you're like, oh, they are literally holding that product to their face. Like, and you can just tell they don't feel comfortable because you've taken away the organic element of what they do. And that's what we try and really hard not to do at Very. Like, we try to be respectful of our customer, to know that they know people can sniff out bullshit.
Yeah.
They can sniff out an inauthentic ad or a piece of content. They can easily tell when someone is doing something for the money rather than because it feels like the right type of partnership. And that's what we try our very best not to do. So one, who's the right kind of influencer? Who are we going to work with who genuinely wants to work with us? Like, if we have to chase you a million times to figure out if you actually want to
do it,
want to work with us in the first place, and we already know that this probably doesn't feel right. Understanding that, like, our audience is a bit hun, a bit glam, into fashion, into beauty, and that although they might not afford kind of the most expensive things on the market, they still want to feel like they can access all of that kind of fashion anyway. So it's finding people who can bring that to life for them, and people who feel excited to kind of demonstrate fashion in different ways, whether it's high street, whether it's more niche and kind of glamorous, just telling different stories and making it feel super relatable. So yeah, we just try and lean into who they are rather than be prescriptive.
I like that because it segues nicely onto the questions that I actually had prepared for this episode because we haven't really touched on them. But you touched on your audience a second ago, and I really want to unpack that because I think so many brands don't go in with that audience first mindset. They're just like, we love X creator. And then, you've got to go on that journey of saying, well, then actually speak to your core consumer.
Yeah.
I mean, your chief customer officer, Jess Myers, was on a Uncensored CMO podcast recently where she described your audience, like you just have, as Huns, who are deep in Hun culture. Can we unpack that? Because for me, it brings to mind like love of Huns. It brings to mind like the Gemma Collinses of the world.
I mean, yeah, I think when we were trying to get to grips with who our customer is, like, we're a northern brand at the heart, and just I think in the past we've kind of not been so clear on who we are as a brand and really staying true to that in the long run. But I feel like we've come to a really, really strong brand positioning. So we have our platform of Let's Make It Sparkle. Our customers, we completely know and love that they are into Hun culture. They love, when they get dressed up, they love to be, have a little bit of glam. They want to sparkle. It doesn't matter what their budget is. It doesn't matter where they're going necessarily. It's just helping them to feel just that little bit of sparkle, I guess. And I don't think it necessarily all needs to sit in one world of Gemma Collins.
Yeah.
Like, I think what we try and do with our influencers is bring those Huns in different contexts. So whether there's the Hun next door or your more fashion forward Hun. So she might be, wearing things that are a bit more quirky, a bit different that you might not naturally wear on the high street. But she styles it in a fun and exciting way. She makes you feel engaged and excited about fashion or homewares or beauty. It just gives you a sense of joy when you look at that content, and I think that's what we try and bring through is
very light-hearted as well. It's not serious.
Exactly. We're not taking ourselves too seriously.
There's enough doom and gloom in the world. You don't need to add to it with a brand partnership.
Exactly. So we let them have their creative free. So when we talk about fashion trends, for example, we let our influencers, we talk to them about what we know is coming up, but then make it your own, style it your way, showcase it in a kind of fun and imaginative way. And I think it really lands. I think it works really well. And it's not so prescriptive as the Hun that you have in your head. A Hun can be a variety of different things. And what we try and do with our influencer selections is really try and cover the span of Hun, from super maximalist Hun to your Hun next door.
Yeah, we're not. Sorry, it's just the term Hun. It's just really funny. It's like, not a specialist Hun, a generalist Hun. Reminds me of that clip from what's it? X Factor. It's like, I'm not a generalist, I'm a specialist. So let's talk about Let's Make It Sparkle, because that's your brand platform at the moment. That's sort of the creative filter you see things through and how you show up. Is that led by data and insight? Because you said, traditionally very northern brand.
Yeah.
So imagine when it comes to influencer selection, you're looking for those that index highly anywhere north of London. So how does that come through when it comes to working with influencers? Because
I think
you're relinquishing some of that control.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessary. I mean, it's data led in understanding who our customer is, understanding what they're looking for in terms of social content, understanding where they are in their life stage, what kind of purpose we play in their lives. And we think about this from a social perspective as well as an influencer perspective. If we're going to put content out into the world, it has to serve a purpose. It has to do something for us as a brand and for our consumers. If it's not doing anything for them, it's going to just disappear into the ether and become another piece of content floating on the internet. So we try and kind of inform our briefs around what we understand them to need. So our customers are, slightly on the older side of, so they may well be Hun, but they are, they're mums, they're doing their best for their families. They're trying to make sure that when they are accessing kind of fashion and home, it's within an affordable context. So it's basically turning what we know is a big trend in the fashion industry and turning it into something that feels accessible for them. And then
So you can still lean into those trends then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the lens of let's make it sparkle.
Exactly. And it's just understanding, the role that we play basically. And then the influencers come into it of picking the ones that cover a wider cross section. Like we are a brand that covers the entire UK. We're an online retailer. So we have our core audience, but we have a broader audience as well. So it's just making sure that we kind of, serve a purpose for everyone.
Do you have a hun filter for your talent?
We
Not
do.
hun enough or too hun?
Yes, we do to a degree, yeah. So we do try and we go through our influencer selection. So with the Very Network specifically, we really do try and every 6 months we review our network. We make sure that the people that we continue to work with absolutely continue to represent our brand in the best way possible. And then we have to do a bit of a hun filter and make sure
a hun
cull. Do we have enough huns? Are there too many maximalist huns and not too many on the other scale? So we try and kind of make sure we have that cross section.
But these networks, I think there'll be a lot of brands and marketers listening that maybe have no idea the amount of work that goes into compiling a really long list of names that are vetted, brand safe, also fit the filter of generalist hun, or whatever the consumer profile is. You want to make sure that, like you said as well, there's that broader audience in there too, because it's not just hun appeal. Because I think you've also got a lot of products that will resonate with people that are not just huns. I know I've bought games consoles off of Very in the past because it was the best deal around. So you also want to make sure that you're engaging other huns.
Broadly. Yeah, absolutely.
So my question off the back of that is, I guess, what is the mix when it comes to a campaign? Are you I want to say, are you full hun? Are you thinking, we're going to have 80% 80% core consumer and then 20% broad appeal?
I think it's, to be honest, it's not as prescriptive as that. I think we try and make sure that we respect our hun audience, our core audience. So we make sure that they are catered to, that they have enough inspiration, as I've said, in that kind of broad spectrum of hun, but we also work with people outside of our network. So those are our network. That's our core, currently very fashion-focused communications. We'll go more broadly in the coming seasons. But we do then speak more broadly. So if we have changes in our trading priorities or our brand priorities, we're talking to families, we try and continue to have a bit of a lens of who feels right for the core customer, but absolutely we don't kind of discriminate against non-huns as well.
One of the things we spoke about loosely while we were just setting up for this was the shift from, there's a real focus, I'd say, probably about 2 years ago, on we need micro creators, we need UGC creators, and everyone was sort of shunning shunning sort of macro creators and people that had larger established audiences for these cost-effective micro creators. Personally, and what we recommend to brands is a real mix. So you have a range of micro creators up to macro, because you get the blend of engagement and age old. Is that a shift that you obviously you live through in the industry, and where are things now? Have you sort of sidestepped micro UGC creators entirely, or is there still a blend?
No, I think it's a blend. I think you're completely right. I mean, we talked about this, it felt like this sudden moment where everyone was obsessed with micro creators, and it did make sense. I think, especially if you think about the context of where we were, where we had lots of YouTube creators back then and big Instagram influencers who'd grown so big and had leveraged so many brand partnerships that the authenticity had started to drop away.
It was waning.
Yes, and people were just becoming aware of what was happening, which is they were being sold products. And so micro influencers came through as this shining bright light of opportunity.
We can be credible again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's all amazing and absolutely a tool we should use, but it's just, instead of it being a solution to this bigger problem of inauthenticity, it's more about, I bang the same old drum really of being really consistent, being really respectful of the role that creators play, and having macro influencers, having those kind of MIDI influencers, and working with micro influencers, and really mixing it up, making sure that what you're looking for is the message that you're getting out of it. Does it feel like when someone sees that piece of content, they're going to feel engaged, they're going to see something of your brand that they haven't seen before, you're going to open doors rather than this is a solution to a big fat problem. However, there is a solution with micro-influencers for us. I think as we face into this interesting new world of TikTok surfacing new trends that literally like blow up and disappear within days or weeks.
24 hours, yeah.
Honestly, the whole demure thing of like never say demure now because it's embarrassing because it's an old hat. Like it made me laugh so much because they kind of just fizzle really quickly, but they burst up really fast as well. Basically for us, micro-influencers allow us to be much more agile when it comes to the trends that are appearing on TikTok. They appear so fast. And as a brand, you want to jump on it. You want to show your consumers that you have the product that absolutely...
You get it.
Yeah, we get it.
We're cool.
We've got that product. Come to us for it. But you need to get that out really quickly and you need to make some noise about it. So I think that there's a place for micro-influencers within that world.
Yeah. And it does bring challenges as well, because there's been a lot of campaigns where the brands say to us, we want a swathe, a cohort of micro-creators. But the resource for... hundreds of micro creators versus maybe 10 to 20 sort of mid-tier to macro is significantly different.
And you lose the authenticity then because you're just punting a brief out to a load of people.
Who'll take it,
and create some content that will be beautiful, but will it give you that authentic engagement with your brand? I think it's just maintaining what's most important, which is delivering content, delivering content that serves a real, genuine purpose for your brand and for the consumers that are consuming it.
And I think a lot of brands as well, and you've probably seen this over the years as well, where they overcomplicate something that should be quite straightforward. And we spoke about when it comes to briefing talent being too prescriptive. You're not actually, and you said yourself, here's the storyboard for, I've never been a YouTube creator, but here's a storyboard of like the best practice of what you should be doing. And I think there's that, we touched on the A word, authentic and credibility. I think, and you said this yourself, when brands get it wrong, it's when they're being far too prescriptive to talent, or they're putting the brief out and hoping someone takes it. And then you said you'll get great content, but is it doing the job you need it to? So I guess one of my last questions is around success. What metrics are most important to Very as a business, or over the time in your career? What have you shifted attention from? For us, it's always, for me, like 8 years ago, it was views and impressions. What's the CPM? And now it's like, what's the brand lift? What is the engagement, spontaneous recall? Things like that.
That's the most important thing. I think it's about balance. I think for a long time it was the Wild West, like literally measurement of influencer was whatever you decided it to be that week. And that was because we didn't have tools at our disposal. We couldn't look at like brand lift, we couldn't look at consideration, but there are more and more agencies and businesses offering that level of in-depth research, which I think is so exciting. And also from our side, it's the commercial benefits as well. Like we're an online retailer, being able to understand what's driving click-throughs, what's driving sales. I think it's really balancing. Even the vanity metrics, they're important. Vanity metrics is a bit of a harsh term, but engagement metrics, like they are all important. I think it's finding the right balance of all three. You can't really shift in favor of one and ditch the others, because then you lose if you don't look at the engagement metrics, you start to lose your understanding of what good looks like in terms of content. If you don't look at the brand side of things, you miss half the picture of what you're delivering and the impact you could be demonstrating to your business, the budgets you could be unlocking to kind of go bigger and better. And then the commercial side of things, which is ultimately what a bigger business is going to want to see, is what's shifting the dial for us, what's really working. So finding the balance of all three, I think, is the dream. We are always trying to get there. We're always trying to improve what we did last time. And I don't think anyone I've seen has nailed it perfectly yet, but I feel like we're actually in a much better place as an industry than we have been.
Definitely. I think it was definitely the Wild West up until about yesterday. So that brings me nicely. We did some quick fire challenges and questions in the first season of the podcast, but we've now come up with the lie detector test, which is all of the budget for props went on this tiddly little whiteboard. I did the challenge before and I got 7 out of 15. So I think you can only go up from there. So what I'll do is I'll read these questions out quickly and just imagine there's like a big clock on screen that's counting down from 1 minute to 0. Nothing happens if we don't do it in that time, but I like to think it gives a sense of... Yeah, you're fired. So the first question, here we go. What is your LinkedIn headline?
Head of consumer influence. PR, social influence?
Yeah, you've got head of consumer influencer, social and PR, so close enough.
I feel like I get that, surely.
What are your 3 top skills?
Influencer marketing?
That's definitely in there for you.
Social media?
Mm-hmm.
What would another one be? I mean, you'd imagine...
You mentioned one of them a second ago in your headline.
PR.
Yeah,
I mean, okay, fine.
I totally forgot mine. I was like, I didn't put that. PR works its way into my one. I have no idea what I'm doing with PR. Which award-winning integrated car campaign did you lead on?
Oh, the Renault behind car doors.
Correct.
Easy peasy.
Are you verified?
No.
You are?
Oh, fuck. Yes.
How long have you been in your current role?
5 years.
And how many followers? That's correct, sorry. How many followers do you have? I need a specific number.
251.
No, 934.
Oh, wow, okay.
But we'll accept 500 plus. What partnership is mentioned on your profile relating to Sky?
What partnership? Netflix.
Correct. And which award-winning integrated car oh, that's a repeat. Give you that one. Apart from London, where else have you worked?
Oh, Belgium.
Nice. And that's correct. And are you a LinkedIn Premium member?
Yes.
Business expense. And which 2 languages do you speak?
Oh, English and Gujarati.
Well, I was going to do the podcast in Gujarati, but...
yeah, I heard you knew fluently.
Yeah. Multi-skilled. Safe to say it's not on my LinkedIn profile. Well, I'm pleased to say you got a total of... 11.
11? Okay, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get 2.
I think there was a little round of applause from behind the curtain. All 3 people in the space. So I'm going to put you right at the top.
Thank you.
I think 11 out of 15 is not bad. It means
solid.
that you passed the lie detector test. Nothing happens if you didn't.
Well, I've kept my job, so that's good. Or maybe I haven't.
Yeah, won't tell you, boss. 11 out of 15. There we go.
I've never been top of the leaderboard on anything, so that's exciting.
Well, don't worry, there's 9 more episodes yet, so you might not be there by next week. Thank you, Layla. I feel like we chewed the fat over Harry Potter, Huns. We covered a lot of things, a lot of different details. I mean, if people want to find you, LinkedIn, probably not the best place.
Prob's not.
Prob's not. But thank you so much for joining us. I think you have been the best first guest for season 2.
Oh, thank you very much.
So we say something nice back to me.
Oh, you've been amazing.
Thank you.
I've had the best time of my life.
I don't disbelieve you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the What They Said podcast. We were joined by Layla, Queen Hun herself.
Sorry.
Did I say it wrong?
No, it's just I had water in my mouth.
Oh, keep that in. We're leaving here all the more Hun. I feel like I'm going to go and get some Live, Laugh, Love glitter, throw it everywhere, and be the flamingo that we all deserve to be.
Yep, do that.
Not a pigeon.
Not a pigeon.
Not a pigeon. Thank you for listening. If you would like to leave a review wherever you listen to this podcast, please make sure you do. It means I keep my job and that we can keep going with the podcast because I'm sure it's the highlight of your week. Thank you, Layla, for joining us today.
Thank you.